It's no secret that times are tough for a lot of people right now. A recent study suggests that over 70% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. More than 50% can't cover a $1,000 emergency in cash, and the average person has over $20,000 of non-mortgage debt. That is a lot. And here in Canada, it's more or less the same. In this video, I want to talk about some of the reasons why things are going this way, and hopefully provide you with some tangible solutions to try to improve your circumstances if you're struggling. And where would we begin if not with talking about inflation? Thanks to inflation, your money is actively losing a little bit of its value every single day. And over the course of a few years, it's losing a lot of its value. As the price of everything continues to increase year after year, your money just doesn't go nearly as far as it used to. Like $100 of groceries 5 or 6 years ago was twice as much food as $100 worth of groceries today. Or an apartment that cost, say, $1,500 a month back in 2019 is about $2,700 a month today. Saving money is important, but even if you're great at it, you will never outpace the rate of inflation. Typically, inflation is about 3 to 4% per year, which means that if you're just holding money in a regular bank account, like a checking or savings account, your money is actively losing its value while it sits there. So at the very bare minimum, you should be holding your money in a high-yield savings account that pays at least 4%. Or better yet, anything beyond your bare bones basic emergency fund should be invested. Definitely not official financial advice by any means, but I myself invest predominantly into S&P 500 index funds, which return on average about 8% per year. So rather than my money sitting there and devaluing, it's actually increasing in value over time. And contrary to popular belief, you do not have to be rich to invest. You can start with literally any amount of money. That could be $1,000 a month, or it could be as little as $50 a month. It's totally okay to start small. Just start. Hey, it's me. I'm just editing this video, and there's one really important point that I left out, and I don't want to fully overlook it, and that is corporate greed. As much as inflation is a very real thing, it is generally stated at being 2, 3, maybe 4% per year. Even at its worst during the pandemic, we saw inflation hitting 6 or 7% per year. But in no way does that explain why retail stores and grocery stores have raised their prices between 50 and 100% in that same period of time. Corporations love to exploit the public. They love to squeeze every dollar they can out of us and then go, oh, well, sorry guys, it's inflation. And they're just using it as a scapegoat. So corporate greed is actually, I would say, a much bigger problem than actual inflation is. Now, speaking of emergency funds, not having an emergency fund is one of the easiest ways to get trapped in a never-ending cycle of debt. You have no money saved, and then inevitably something in life happens outside of your control, like maybe your car dies or your dog starts randomly sharding himself for no apparent reason, and you have no choice but to go into debt to deal with it. And then between your regular monthly expenses and these new additional monthly debt payments, you wind up having to go even further in debt just to cover the basics. And you keep digging yourself in deeper and deeper.
How are you gonna get out of here?
Having 3 to 6 months of your most basic expenses saved and put away is an absolute must because you just never know what life is gonna throw at you. And it is perfectly okay if it takes you a few years to save up that amount of money. But you really do have to make it your number one priority because you just never know what's gonna happen. Not having an emergency fund is like playing Russian roulette, but you're the only player. And well, yeah, it's not gonna end well. Oh, and for the record, Levi's Sharknado extravaganza was last year. He's totally fine now. $1,000 later, get an emergency fund. Next up, we need to talk about wage stagnation. We talked about inflation before, but the actual reason that inflation is such an issue is because people's wages haven't kept up. Like theoretically, if the price of everything doubled over 5 years, but your salary did too, it wouldn't really be a problem. Except that the price of everything pretty much has doubled over the last 5 years, and more than likely, your income has not. If you're not getting an annual raise of at least 4%, you are effectively getting a pay cut. And unfortunately, most employers just don't care. Businesses know that the less that they can pay their staff, the more revenue they can keep for themselves. And particularly in rough economic times, they're very aware that many people will be out looking for work. So with increased hiring options, they have even less incentive than ever to pay you more. For this reason, it's become recommended that you change jobs every 3 years or so, since you're far more likely to find a new position at a different company with a considerably higher salary than you are to get a significant raise from your current employer. Another thing you can do to increase your income is to start a business. And this can be a full-time gig, but it can also just be a side hustle to earn yourself a few $100s extra every month. Personally, I've been fully self-employed for almost 10 years now. And beyond just being able to wake up every morning without an alarm, I've also been able to safeguard myself against wage stagnation. When you're self-employed, you can set your rates at basically whatever you want. And if you're not making enough money to get by, you can just raise your prices today. No need to negotiate, no need to beg, no need to job hunt. You just do it. Even if you want to stay with your regular job that you have right now, picking up a side hustle that you can do for even just a few hours a week is a great way to give yourself some financial breathing room. And you might be able to do it with something that you find fun. And if you own a business, or you plan to start one in the near future, you're definitely going to want a website so people can find you, right? Duh. Today's sponsor, .online Domains, makes it easy for you to start and grow your small to medium business, no matter what kind of business you're in. .online is one of the world's most trusted new domains, with over 3.4 million domains registered to date. And because the word online is searched for over 500 million times per month, you can bet that when somebody Googles the product or service you're selling, your business will pop up, whether you have a fully online business like consulting or graphic design, or even a local in-person business like a restaurant or a gym or a retail boutique. Check out some of the businesses that are killing it with their .online website. .coms are way oversaturated now, but a .online domain ensures you can actually secure the website you want. And for a limited time, if you click the link in the top of the video description and use the code Nicole, you can get your first year of your .online domain for just 99 cents. So click the link below, use the code Nicole, and thank you very much to .online Domains for sponsoring this video. Next up, we need to talk about housing. For most people, housing is their number one biggest expense by far. And that's true whether you rent or own. And like we talked about, inflation has been rampant, and the prices of everything have risen. But housing prices in particular have risen far faster and far more aggressively. And it's hard because you can cut your spending on a lot of things, but you still need somewhere to live. If you are way overspending on your rent or your mortgage proportionate to your income, it becomes more important than ever to make sure you're being mindful about your spending on everything else. Money experts recommend that your total housing cost, including your rent or mortgage, property taxes, utilities, insurance, everything altogether, shouldn't exceed 30% of your gross income. And unfortunately, in a lot of areas, that's become completely impossible for all but the highest earners. So for every 1% of your income over and above that 30% threshold that you're spending on housing, you need to find somewhere else in your budget to cut a percentage from. You might be able to do that by renegotiating a few of your bills, or driving a cheaper car, cooking more often at home, or canceling a subscription or two that you're not using. And again, finding an additional source of income or a way to increase your income is really helpful as well. And yes, I know that it sucks to have to do that, but it is way better than living in a cardboard box, I guess. And then of course, there's consumerism. I have an entire video about consumerism and its inverse effects on your happiness. It's actually one of my favorite videos that I ever made, so if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. I'll put the link up there. But the long and short of it is that consumerism, and particularly overconsumption, is ingrained into the fabric of our culture here in North America. Most people seem to derive their sense of self-worth from the things that they own, or more specifically, from what they think those things convey to others about them.
Mom, do not screw me over again! If I take that thing to school, everyone's gonna think I'm a poverty-stricken asshole!
If you drive a luxury car or have an expensive designer purse or watch, people will think that you're rich and successful. If you wear brands like Patagonia or Arc'teryx, people will think that you're outdoorsy and adventurous and health conscious. Or so you hope. And I mean, this is marketing 101. When a brand advertises, they're not just trying to sell you their product. They're trying to sell you a lifestyle or a fantasy or a feeling that they want you to believe you will have when you own their product. I remember one time seeing a commercial for jeans, and it was just a bunch of really good-looking people aggressively making out and undressing each other. And what does that have to do with pants? Nothing. In fact, jeans originated as workwear for miners and farmers, but now they want you to associate it with sex appeal. And so they're not just selling you pants, they're selling you the idea that people who buy and wear their pants are hot and lustful and desired. And don't you want to be too? And logically, we know this is a fallacy. We know that the clothing you own, the car you drive, the phone you have, that none of that changes the person you actually are or the lifestyle you live. But subconsciously, we eat that shit right up. And then of course, there's the treat yourself mentality, where we try to justify to ourselves buying things that we know we don't need just because we work hard for our money, so we deserve to enjoy it, right? But in actuality, the more money we spend, the harder we have to work to catch up. And the harder we work, the more burnt out and unsatisfied we feel with our lives, and so the more we buy things to try to numb that feeling. And we just get caught in this cycle that seems almost impossible to break. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is that for many people, these purchases are all being made on credit. Your clothing is being financed with Afterpay. Your phone is being charged in monthly installments on your phone bill. Your car is costing you $700 a month. Everything is being charged to a credit card where only the minimum payment is being made and the balance is ever increasing. And it's interesting to think about because a lot of people complain about this subscription culture that has become so prevalent in the last few years, about how you never really seem to own anything outright anymore. You can never just buy something and own it, but how now every company is looking for a way to charge you over and over again every month, forever. But many people fail to realize that they themselves are turning everything into perpetual monthly payments by financing everything they buy, especially the things that you really should be able to go out, pay for once, and own forever. You know, you can cancel something like Netflix or HelloFresh at any time if you decide that you don't want to pay for it anymore. And then that monthly payment just stops. It just goes away. But when you buy everything you own with financing, you are locking yourself into a series of monthly payments that are way higher than a streaming service or a meal delivery box, and you can't make that payment go away no matter what you do unless you fully pay it off. You're essentially choosing to subscribe to things that aren't supposed to be a subscription, that you don't need to subscribe to. So yeah, maybe don't buy things if you can't afford to fully buy them outright. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful, or at least maybe just entertaining. Maybe it helped you to look at things from a perspective that you hadn't considered before, or maybe none of this is new to you and you're just here to see this guy. Hey, come say hello to the people. Come say hello. Oh my goodness, are you out cold? Are you out cold, my boy? There he is. I don't want to wake him up. If you enjoyed this video at all, please go ahead and hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. You can follow me on Instagram at according_to_Nicole. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time. People are really only here to see you. Do you know that? I feel like you know that.